we all set with participants? We have 2, okay. All right, so the June meeting of the Library Board of Trustees.
Did we just lose?
Yeah.
Maria?
We lost Maria, I think.
Yeah, so now we don't have a quorum.
Is something going on in town? Did we know that, we knew Mary
Oh,
Beth
they
was
were-
going to be
were-
here.
Yes, and I hadn't heard from Nancy, but maybe Maria's calling Nancy.
Okay.
I am talking to her right now, Lizzie.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, if you go
We
to
just
that,
start?
pardon me, she's trying to get on.
Oh, okay.
So,
Um,
if-
Go
yes,
ahead.
I muted Maria, so. we can-
Okay, that being said, are there any recording devices other than the one Lizzie is using for the town? No, okay. And so we'll call the meeting to order. And I think the first thing on our agenda is approval of the minutes of May 9th, 2022. Did anyone have any comment or issues with anything in the minutes? I can't get you.
I
What?
move, in the absence of any amendments, deletions, or revisions, I move to accept the minutes as submitted.
Thank you, Trustee Fitzgerald. Second,
Maybe we should get Maria to second it because
Oh, yeah. so
I
yeah.
drafted them. Yeah,
Maria? Okay,
Maria, you're muted right now. Maybe you could unmute yourself. Did you second the,
I second,
okay, thanks.
second it.
thank you. And we'll take a vote. Trustee Fitzgerald,
Aye.
Trustee Macy Phelps,
Aye.
I'm sorry, Trustee Ryan,
Aye.
and Trustee Vanu votes aye. So, thank you. Good job, Macy, Trustee Macy Phelps. First meeting notes in a while, although I'm sure you've done them before. Okay, next we have the director's report, which we do accept as submitted, but Ms. McGovern, if you would like to give us some highlights, that
Sure.
would be great.
Yeah, it's a little bit of light this month. We've been very busy. So we had adult programming, I think a highlight. We had our very popular series, which Maria, you attended in person, so it was nice to see. It was our book buzz. We tried it hybrid. We've been doing it virtually the last couple years. We usually try to do it quarterly, and getting ready for summer, we thought it would be a great time to bring it back. And so we were able to use the OWL camera so that we had 12 attendees on Zoom, and we had 8 in person. So it was good to see that successful, that we were able to negotiate and meet people where they're at, which is some feedback we heard through some of our strategy is like, oh, the ability to still access programs from home and record things. So I was happy to for that. That was very successful. And then Claire has been kicking it up with her author events, and she had an in-person author event at the Islington branch in the lower level. And it was an author, Jenna Bloom, who wrote many books, but this book she was talking about was Woodrow on the Bench, which is about her black lab that she had for many years, but she spent the last 7 months, together before he passed. So, which was very well attended. It was again great to have programs in person, especially at the branch. And then my other highlight is just that the youth services department has been really, really busy. We just finished today their summer reading visits to all 5 elementary schools. So they visit kindergarten through 5th grade, and we go to each one of their library classes. So for the last 2 weeks, librarians have been out about and reaching out to every school. And what's been great is that we were able to do it on Zoom the last 2 years, but to be able to negotiate that back into in person, which has been a tradition for many, many years, way long before I've been here. So a shout out to the kids staff, because it's a really busy time. We talk about summer reading, but we spend majority of the time talking books to the kids, and school's not even out yet. And we've had 400 kids sign up. So very well done for them. So those are some of the highlights from the last month and into June.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions or comments on the director's report at this point? Maria? Excuse me.
I just want to tell you,
Go
I
ahead.
just wanted to tell you that Nancy Donahue is trying to get into the meeting. She's,
Okay.
Seeing the passcode as well.
it keeps asking her for a passcode.
It's in the email.
Agenda,
from Lizzie, either on her own personal email or on the town email.
I know, she puts it in and it won't accept it.
The 67852. I didn't need a code when I've come in before. That's why I always include it.
I didn't either, but I did tonight. And if there's a space before the code sometimes, and that is the problem. So, but in the past, I didn't have to use it, but I did tonight. Anyway, okay, I think we said if there's anybody has any questions or comments for Lizzie about the director's report. Not at this time. Okay, that being said, we will move on to the Islington Branch Library. And Lizzie, I think you might have some comments to make.
Yeah, I got word today, we had a very big returns. So as Claire said, she goes, I think word's getting out because there was a lot of books that came in over the weekend. So that's been really good. But some of the creative ideas that, I've just mentioned to staff, staff, again, we have one team that's, one works main library and the branch library. So there's been a lot of creative juices flowing, and Caroline, who works at CERC, and Susie, who works in our adult services, came up with the idea for a plant swap. And most notably, they're like, let's do it in the front lawn of the Islington branch, so that even if people who don't even know it's a library will stop and see what's going on out there. And so they set up these two big tables. They had people, patrons donate plants, even if they weren't able to make it, to be able to swap. Susie provided a lot herself. Her husband, who owns a flower shop, donated some. And they had coloring pages for kids. They had, a pop-up. They grabbed some books from the Friends Book Nook that all related to gardening, and, copies of The Secret Garden. They sold some books, and even some people who didn't have a plant to swap just wanted to donate to the Friends, which was kind of a happenstance, which was really great. They had over 118 people come by the branch for the plant swap over the 3 hours they were there. And it just generated a lot of goodwill. It was it was supposed to be thunder. It was thundery and raining all morning. We're like, rain or shine, we're going to do it. And then of course the skies opened up and it was really hot out, but it was great. So many people, some people had never been there before, come in and heard about it. So it definitely drew a lot of attention. It was wonderful. So, and Claire was very happy. So a lot of people, since they were there, came inside. And again, with all ages. And I'm in the process of working with Jimmy to get still a sign. I think it'd be great for the summer on the front lawn, that space too, that just reminds people to come and explore this new space. So we're still in the works of getting the right type of sign that can be put in front.
Sure.
So, but Claire was also very excited about that idea too. So I think it's just as more and more people find out about it, whether it's a program or something, they're like, oh yeah, this is great. This is right by my house. I can use this. So
That's great.
Good. It was a really successful program. So props to Susie and Caroline, because they kind of initiated that and did all the legwork for it.
And I'm sure just the conversations that happened will, open other people's ears to about, they'll share that and word of mouth. Great,
Yeah.
great idea. Okay. Anything else concerning Islington branch? No. Okay, strategic plan update. So we didn't really, make a plan about who would say like what in the strategic plan in the past. But no, I know everyone got an email with the attachments with the plan, and just to start, I think if nothing else, the graphics are great. Very colorful and inviting to look at and read. And we want people to have a chance to look at it, but we certainly, you've had it for maybe 6 days now. So, we could have some discussion tonight, take in questions, and, have further opportunity for people to review it. And Mary Beth's not here, and, I know we'll be able to do a little more discussion, answering questions in between and so forth, and then, move forward with a plan to vote on an acceptance. So Lizzie, that being said, would you?
Sure. I feel like I've already birthed a baby with the strategy. It's been, it's great to see the fruits of all the last, honestly, about 8 or 9 months, come up to something that really, not only is it exciting and I think you can see it's not out of like thin air, you know what I mean? Like it goes back to the data and the research and the, you know, the feedback we received from the community, but it was also really, what's the word I'm looking for? It's really important that some of the stuff that we do really well still came up that people were like, I like that you do this. And so working with Cece, we were able to craft these buckets. And initially it kind of things were like, oh, this already goes in this category. And from the very beginning, I really wanted a living, breathing plan. I wanted something that, as you point out, Maureen, was very visual, that we could use not only internally to kind of promote it, but to potentially do a larger scale, like get the community involved, where we have banners that, you know, this is one of our initiatives that we're working on, and that they would be able to see and recognize. So to see them all kind of easily flow into these 6 initiatives is what we've boiled it down to, was really validating. So and some of the actions underneath that I think we provided examples in the summary. Some of those get fleshed out and as part of the implementation. So I think at first you look and you're like, how can you do all of these things? Well, some things we're doing already really well, and it's more of just, again, making them consistent. And some things, you know, it's over the course of 3 years. So part of the implementation is like, okay, the first 3 months we're going to work on this, and you know, who's going to do what, and a lot of those questions that get answered. But so that's just my overview of it. I know it's kind of a lot of content, which is why we wanted to give everybody 2 weeks, you know, more or less to really sit with it. And, you know, if there's anything that's really, oh, tell me more about this, or, you know, could we move this there, or why is it called this, you know, that type of a thing, we can still have time to respond to that. So it's definitely open to any feedback or comments tonight. And if there's any questions or something that I kind of want to sit on and think and get back to you, I'm happy to also share that feedback with the entire board, so that it's not like anyone's in isolation, so we can share the feedback with everyone. But yeah, that's my, I think so we have 6 initiatives and 18 objectives. And I'm really happy with it. And I think, speaking of the graphics, we were already still tinkering with, right now we have triangles, just color triangles, but tinkering with having a different graphic for each themed initiative too, that kind of expresses the feeling of it and what would be impacted under that. So that's just more of the graphic side of it when we kind of roll it out to the over the staff and the public. But yeah, I know there's a lot of, I pull it up too.
Okay. So would anyone have any questions or comments or concerns that they'd like to bring up tonight? Or
I'm gonna I just saw Nancy's in the room. I just wanted to let you know I'm gonna let her.
oh,
in.
good.
Okay. Good.
Mary, would you like to start?
Sure. Yeah. So Lizzie, I know the document that you sent, which, yeah, you know, as Maureen says, very certainly very well presented and very well thought out here. In terms of what we're going to be voting on, this says it's an executive summary. So is this the document that we're approving and this will be submitted, or is there some other document? Because it's, you know, it's a 3-year plan. So you know, I know last time we did it, I know we're not trying to go into that level of detail, but things were chunked out. First year,
Yeah.
we're going to try to do this, second year, third year. Should we be expecting that to study, or what is it that we're going to be voting on?
This is I think basically for the voting would be, it's this content of this document. And then the full, it has the key findings with it and the methodology and all of that, which is everything we do have to submit to the state. Part of the implementation this summer will be deciding what year we do what. So you guys would be approving on the 6 initiatives, the objectives, and that's why the actions item are underneath are like sample actions, which we've already identified as priorities among the leadership team that fit that. So it can be easily plugged out and presented even internally if you prefer, the same way, where it's like action or initiative 1, objective, actions underneath. But I think that we were going to work in July and August on what to start when. Part of that is, you know, with the leadership team and making sure that everybody's comfortable rolling out internally. So it would be a form of this document.
Okay, so I guess I just want to make sure that we have whatever it is that we're approving to get submitted to the state, that we sort of have that package.
Yes. Yes. And then, so what we basically, this aside from like the financial partners, the community partners, they don't really need that. That's just for our direction. but they need the initiatives, objectives, and action items, which we have all in here. As you said, it's displayed differently, but we can easily pull that in. And I think they would accept this as, even if I just pulled this PDF together and sent it to
Okay.
them, they
So
would.
so the sample action items they'll take, it doesn't have to be chunked out year 1, 2, or 3 for the
No.
state.
No, because in October is when every year in October, we have to submit the updated of what you're going to
Oh, okay.
year.
Yeah.
So I will submit this, and then I would probably have, hey, in the next year, these are the ones we're going to start
Okay.
with.
Right.
And the next October, you do the
And
next.
that's
October.
when they work. Okay. Yeah, no, thank you. That really helps. And I guess one of my other main questions, Lizzie, gets to, and the fund is going to be meeting tomorrow night. Thank you very much for the information that you sent as backup on that. And I was hoping maybe you could talk a little bit about the thought process behind the specific things you put under fund and friends and the town. And I don't want to overthink it. But as I was reading it, and because the document had, or at least the detailed think piece that you sent on the fund emphasized that there would be no overlap. It wasn't completely clear to me how this would work in terms of, like community marketing and communications versus community outreach. I didn't necessarily get quite the sense of clarity to really feel confident that, oh, okay, yes, these could live and like what happens if, the fund or the friends or whatever has limitations in any way, so I was hoping you could maybe tease that out a little bit.
Yeah, I can help tease it out. I do think I think it's definitely still open for that flexibility conversation between Tina and the fund, just to make sure that we address that together. So under the fund, one of the example that you gave of community marketing communications, we were, Cece and I, we were developing this when we were thinking, like on the front page of it, you see that there are these banners, and we're like, wouldn't it be great is if this whole strategy that we spent all this time on in and of itself was part of the outreach for the future of the library. So part of that was, we don't really have a publicity budget, in our normal thing. So if we were to get giant banners, right? If we were to do a glossy brochures that sent out and we're like, hey, here's what the library's focusing on the future, that sort of stuff, we were potentially, could we go to the fund that would kind of elevate this type of materials from than our normal, like printing everything in-house. So that is where we're kind of thinking, when we said that kind of marketing and communications, it was more specifically for the strategy itself, like how do we market that? And then the community outreach was more of pop-up book sales, would they go to Westwood Day and that kind of a thing. But all of this is still, as you said, able to kind of tease it out and make sure everyone's comfortable. But those were off the top of our heads as we were still in like the strategy world of thinking, oh, this could be great. But that's why we did want to point out that it's in development preliminary. We want to everyone's feedback, on those kind of areas.
Yeah. Okay.
Other questions or comments? Or Mary, I can come back to you if you have another one.
Let me go to the back of the line and I don't necessarily have any
I
more.
was figuring. Anyone else have particular things they wanted to ask about or have expanded on?
I think it's important, maybe right now, as I know we're going to be discussing this. If Lizzie, you could just sort of just give us the proposed, I know we have it in front of us, but maybe if you just present the proposed mission statement. So we'll get that in their heads now, and also the vision, the two things, which is,
Sure. Let me see if I can share my screen. Technical difficulties.
because no matter what we decide when we're going to do what part of the strategic plan, the vision and the mission is overarching anyway.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, well, both are the same. This is some examples of the banners. So yeah, the mission and vision, I will admit that always confused me because I got them interchangeable in my head. And so working through this, it's helpful to remind, that's why, Cece had added the mission doesn't usually change much in the sense where you reword it and stuff, but your mission is usually like why you exist. And we did update it. Oh, did I have a before and after slide? Oh, no, I don't. And so we were thinking about, in this day and age in Westwood currently, like why do we exist? And so we pulled together with the leadership team, with the department heads, this, we had tinkered it with the wordsmithing, but really what we were trying to say is that easy to access resources means and services and experiences are not just, the main library or even the Islington branch. It's the access is like digital everywhere, and that we're inviting people of all ages, all cultures, and all interests to connect, explore, relax, problem solve, and thrive. And all of those, the last line of that really came out of the survey and the focus groups of what people see the library in their life or potentially don't, and how we connect them to it. And it's interesting because the problem solve is very unique. I don't really see that in a lot of other libraries' missions. And when I first saw it, I was excited by it because it's not that we're here to necessarily like, oh, we can solve all your problems, but we help give you the tools. You can come here and we kind of give you that independence and the resources that you need to help you get where you need to be and thrive. So, and then we got a lot of feedback of the library wanting to be that gathering place. We were revisiting the comprehensive plan that Westwood had completed a year or two ago. And one of their missions was how do we have a center, a library, a center for the community. And I know I've always said, well, how could the library fill that role? How can we help be a version of a town center, whether it's in person, outside, or virtually? So that idea of connecting together and relaxing was like I think we shared with you in the feedback was through the roof of, I really want a place to gather or have a cup of coffee with my friend, or I really want to relax and I really want cozy seating. So there was a lot of that, but we also do get a lot of requests for, something as simple as helping someone fax or figure out where they go to solve this problem and things like that. So that mission it wasn't completely new from our older mission. We're just kind of cultivating a little bit more from the feedback of why we exist in Westwood today. And then the vision is at the end of their 3 years, where do we want to be? And this one we tinkered with a lot because it's supposed to be aspirational. It's a little bit more of, not just we want to be an information center or we just want to be an ideas center. I kept coming back to, again, we want to be more than just a physical space or just a place where you go for resources. We really want to be that beating heart of community life and really responsive. And the dynamic is, if we learned anything from COVID in the last few years, is we need to be able to be dynamic, whether it's being innovative with a new program idea or it's just being flexible and being able to pivot and be what the community needs. And I think doing all of that, it makes us the kind of the jewel of Westwood, I would say. So that's where, so through all of these 6 initiatives and through all these objectives, our main ideas in the end of 3 years, we will be the dynamic, responsive heart of the community life. So those are our mission and our vision, which of course will be changed.
And Madam Chair, having looked at this, I think all of the strategic initiatives are really well thought of. I particularly think the idea of drawing more people in,
Yes.
increasing the quality of life for everyone, and the anytime, anywhere are of particular importance because it's really goes to how we remain not only relevant in the 21st century, but not just relevant, but actually impactful.
Right.
So I would think, I know we're going to talk during the summer about what to prioritize for strategic initiatives, but to my mind, the things that bring more people to the library really help use it as a means to enhance their quality of life and lifelong learning. And being, as we've seen, one thing we've learned from the pandemic is anytime, anywhere is going to become vitally important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's,
Thank you. Well, that's, well said. And I think that, we're building on things that we're doing, and like many entities now that put into practice things during the pandemic, we're building them in and bringing things back and building them in, continuing. So I just, what you did with the book buzz and doing it hybrid, there are people who are going to continue to want that, enjoy that. That's just one example, but I think that also anytime and anywhere is, really on target. Oops.
Yeah,
Did
especially
you
because a
take-
lot of our streaming resources that the numbers have gone up. There was just as many people in the survey and focus groups who didn't know we had that. And as we've been, putting out on Facebook right now where, inflation, there's so many things that people might have to cut at your entertainment. And it's like, well, let the library help fill some of those gaps. But part of it is just the knowledge base. So part of that one is also informing everybody that we do have, doing a better job at communication of these resources. we
Yes, that's true. Yes. Well, anybody else have any comments or questions? No?
So may I ask, Madam Chair, the intention is to have another meeting
Yes.
before the end of the month to formally adopt.
Yes, and I think that the process that was mentioned in the email that went out to the board, as you have more time to sit with it,
Right.
if you have particular questions, to forward them, as we mentioned, to the strategy team. And, we can formulate some answers, and if it's seems prudent to get it out to people, if we can find answers to particular questions or concerns as a board, not just to the person who had the question, but just so people have an awareness of what other people are looking at and might have had the same question themselves. And then we can come back together for further discussion and think about when we'd like to vote on an acceptance of the strategy.
So then, Maureen, sorry, just to clarify for the minutes and for my own edification, that, so then the
Yes.
plan is, we should continue to study this and submit our questions to Lizzie, and then we'll discuss those all at the next meeting.
If everyone thinks, continues to feel like that's a good idea.
Yeah.
And particularly where we have two members that, although they've received it, aren't here to ask questions and, so forth tonight. I think that's important that we keep that process opened in between now and when we schedule another meeting, and then have further discussion. And if we are comfortable with it, then, proceed to a vote.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other thoughts? Were you saying something, Trustee Ryan?
I was, and it's gone, so I'll have to
Okay.
remember it.
Okay. All right. So shall we table that for now and move on?
Yes.
Okay. So the next thing is our approval of acceptances and expenditures. Oh, gosh. I've lost you.
Oh,
We can see you.
we can see you.
That's
See you.
interesting. Oh, wait, here we go. Oh, no. I don't know why I can't see you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear and see you.
You can hear and see me. Well, I can't see you, but I'll just keep going. So approval of acceptances and expenditures.
I move to accept the acceptances and expenditures as detailed on the report dated June 13, 2022.
Thank you, Trustee Fitzgerald. And we have a second.
I second it.
Thank you, Trustee Ryan. And so we'll take a vote. Trustee Fitzgerald,
Aye.
Trustee Macy Phelps,
Aye.
Trustee Ryan,
Aye.
and Trustee Von Yu votes aye.
Maureen, is Nancy, it looks like Nancy's on.
I can't see, and I
I see her box there. She,
Yeah.
so
Unmute herself. Can you unmute yourself, Nancy, if you can hear us?
Do we have a chat feature too? I don't know. Or question feature?
Okay, I
Oh.
agree to approve the expenditures and acceptances.
Okay.
thank you, Nancy. All right, moving on, we have new business. Does anyone have any new business tonight? that
I
they
don't know if this would be the good time to see if there was a date, because I did not put in the agenda the next meeting date since we hadn't discussed it yet. So if there was, I don't know if this is the appropriate time to do that, or if I can also send out an email with a suggested date and see if the board can make that.
Given that trustee Persons is not here, I would suggest we do it through the chair.
Okay, perfect.
We
Okay,
need to pick a date now and find
Yep.
out if it didn't work.
that makes sense. Okay, so we'll talk about that, Lizzie, and we could even do a couple of potential dates and have people let you know, respond to an email and let you know when they're available.
Okay,
All right.
that was my only business.
Okay. Well, that being said, I guess, does anyone else have anything that they'd like to bring up?
It was my understanding, it was my understanding that we were going to pick another date in June. It doesn't matter to me, but I thought that we were gonna talk this evening and then in a couple of weeks, re-meet to vote on.
What I suggested, trustee Ryan, is that the chair identify some potential dates and that we communicate with trustee Persons so that
Sure.
we can, and that it would be my intention at the end of the meeting to move that we adjourn subject to the call of the chair. So,
Okay. I'm sorry, it is a little frustrating not being able to see you, but so I'm sorry, Paul, so I'm not going to suggest times now. I will do that with,
what if I may make a suggestion, Madam Chair, we could,
Yes,
it would
you may.
be not a violation of the open meeting law for Lizzie to communicate
yes,
potential dates and
yes,
have us respond to those dates, and then you can call a meeting based on those responses.
that is what I thought we said. Okay,
As long as we have more than 48 hours notice, because I don't think would be considered an emergency meeting.
Right.
okay, all right. Well, we will work on that and we'll try to do it soon so that, people can, book that in.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right. Okay, so we also opened the meeting up to members of the public. If there's anyone out there listening that would like to make a comment or has a question, do we have anyone? Can you tell that you must be able to tell Lizzie? I can't
Yes.
see it.
There's Karen Kagan, and I did allow Karen to talk if she wanted to say anything.
Okay,
Hi, Karen, if you're there. Guess not.
no, okay. Well, one thing I did not say at the beginning of the meeting because we were working on getting everybody up and running for Mary, for you. If you probably took note of when we called the meeting to order, but I did not say it out loud, so.
It was 7:05.
7:05.
Okay.
That's-
Good for- You guys are good.
Just for her notes. Okay, well, I would entertain. A
I
motion
move
to
that we
adjourn.
adjourn subject to the next meeting to be held in June, subject to the call of the chair.
And seconded,
Sure, I can second a motion.
thank you. Okay. Trustee Donahue, how would you like to vote?
I vote yes.
Thank you. Trustee Ryan,
Aye.
trustee Fitzgerald,
Aye.
trustee Macy Phelps,
Aye.
and trustee Von Yu votes aye. Thank you all, and I'm sorry for this frustrating little mishap. It just disappeared. I don't know what happened.
Well, you look great. You look great.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll be in touch with you, Lizzie, and we'll get
Date
some
on the book.
information out to people.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a nice evening.